Hey, hello everyone. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Welcome to the parallel session at the International Conference on Advanced in Data Science, E-Learning, and Information System, or ICADES 2025. My name is Safina, and I'm honored to serve as the moderator for this session. And today we will have a series of presentation with the topic Data Science for Electrical and Telecommunication. So before we begin, let me give you an outline how this session is going to be like. The first one, we will have each presenter will have around 10 minutes to deliver their presentation. And each presenter has a maximum of only 10 minutes, okay? And at the 8th minute, there will be a reminder that there's only 2 minutes left, which will be shown in the HRA's DAFA's screen. And then at the 10th minute state, then I will say time's up. And then after that, it will be followed by a 5-minute Q&A session. And for us, there will be like a maximum of 15 minutes. So if anyone else want to say any other questions or anything else, there will be a 15-minute presentation, Q&A. And then if there's any more, we can extend it to 20 minutes if needed. I will kindly ask for all attendants to hold their question until the end of the presenters' sessions. And then after the Q&A, if there's any more, it will be going to the next presenter. And if the presenter is not ready within 1 minute of their scheduled time, we will proceed to the next presenter. So presenter who is not ready will be rescheduled to present at the end of the session after all other presenter has finished. And during other presenter sessions, please mute your microphone unless permitted to speak. And if you like to ask any other question in the Q&A session, please kindly to raise your hand or drop your question at the Q&A comment section. And also, I would like to remind that everyone is playing their name with using their paper ID followed by your full name. So paper IDs underscore name. Also, make sure that everyone is using their virtual background provided for this session. And to consistently use professional appearance throughout the event. Now, without further ado, let us welcome our first presenter. Let's see who is our first presenter. Wait a second. So we have our first presenter, Vicky Andrea Kusuma, with the title Optimization Distributed Generator Placement in Distribution Network using Flower Pollination Algorithm with Self-Healing Integration. So for the presenter, you may have the floor.
Okay. Okay. You can see my presentation.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today I will presentation of my research about optimizing distribution generator placement in distribution network using flower pollination algorithm with self-healing integration. So, in this research, I do integration of distributed generator or called DG and combine with self-healing system in electrical distribution network. That thing will enhance reliability, minimize power losses, and optimize resource allocation. And also in this study, purpose the flower pollination or called FPA for optional DG placement combined with a self-healing system to address a fault using a modified IEEE 15 bus network as model. Okay, so this is my current works. I use the template of IEEE 14 bus. I modified to 15 bus. So what I do is a focus engine power distribution system using AI and also minimize power losses and voltage deviation. And I use the FPA for self-healing mechanism. So, the goals of this research is how to get distribution network is optimal, and using FPA is for increased complexity of distribution network. Do the penetration of renewable energy required method that can minimize power losses, and usually we call renewable energy is good for system, but if we have the big renewable energy system inject to current grid or utility grid, it will be a hard challenge for grid utility because the renewable energy impact to frequency system. So in this research, I used try to do it self-healing system. So this is the benefit of DG integration. The first one is for reduce power losses and improve reliability and also enhance voltage stability. And what the challenge of this research? The first one is managing uncertain renewable energy source and optimal DG placement complexity. So this my framework. I use flower pollination. The flower pollination if you don't know about flower pollination is how to bee or another insects to pollination or spread the pollination of the flower. And I use to my research, so this called flower pollination algorithm. And also I applied to 15 modification bus for to optimize my system of grid system. And how to this research goals? The first one, I looking for global and local pollination strategies, and also I do multi-objective optimization, and also effective for minimizing losses and stabilizing voltage. So my multi-objective optimization is minimizing losses and stabilizing voltage in system. And how to I develop the self-healing system? The first one, I detect about automatic fault detection, isolation, and recovery. So, first one, I do where the fault insulation needed, and also power rerouting or system distribution rerouting. And the last one, I activate distributed generator. So this is my system, how to my system work. The first one, uh, I input data, convert to PU, and also detect fault detection, fault iteration. I do self-healing and flower pollination algorithm and evaluate fitness of each solution. If I don't get it, I also back to star pollination algorithm. And if I have the best global solution, I do final power flow and do self-healing for output in FPA, and I have output result. So this is my simulation. This is data of my simulation, the comparison of simulation with and without self-healing. In without self-healing, we inject the fault in bus 10, 11, and 12. And in without self-healing, no have DG activate. If with self-healing, we have DG available during fault and also in minimum power losses. It's almost can see because the value is under 0.1. And also system recovery time in without self-healing, we don't do recovery. And optimization iteration, usually we use 100 iteration, but with self-healing it's fewer. And the system reliability in without self-healing it's low, but with self-healing it's high reliability. And power of continuous supply, of course, we get self-healing it's more better. So this is exact data what I get where I put the digiplacement. In digiplacement we attach in 8 bus and 13 bus and we have another value in here, minimum power losses, computational time, and that sentence. So, in the conclusion, this study demonstrate the integrating the power pollination or FPA with self-healing system significantly enhance power distribution, reliability, and efficiency in a modified IEEE 15 bus network. So, this simulation show the self-healing reduce power losses from 0.109 PU to non-self-healing to 0.09. So sorry, in this table I forgot to change about the results. And maintain stable voltage level across buses during disturbance and enable faster fault recovery through automatic insulation and also network reconfiguration. The purpose hybrid framework provide value insight into efficient DG placement and serve as practical reference for modern smart grid implementation. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Mr. Vikendrik Suma. So, is there anyone would like to ask a question? Please raise your hand or drop your question in the comment section.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Uh, does this pollination method fall under generative algorithm? Did you code it from scratch or did you just use tools available in MATLAB toolbox?
How to apply it? First one, I do calculation, the base of pollination, is available in book usually, and I create to code to MATLAB. So I don't use toolbox in MATLAB.
Oh, that is use M files code. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm file code. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else would like to ask a question? Okay, maybe I would like to ask a question. I'm not really familiar with electrical engineering, but it's very interesting how you chose pollination algorithm for this specifically. I would like to ask why you chose this algorithm other than other algorithm.
Yeah, usually we currently use PSO or particle swarm optimization, but it's too common from now for applied in anywhere, everywhere. So I try to use flower pollination. I know that also usually use it, but it's I tried something new from electrical injection.
So you use this one. Have you like compared to the other algorithm or have you only used this algorithm to like research it?
Yeah, of course, I compare to with another algorithm, but in this case, I try to apply it first. If I play it success, I do another algorithm. That's it.
Okay, thank you for your question, your answer. Is there anyone else would like to ask any more question? If not, we will probably go to the next presenter in a few minutes.
Yeah, maybe you can next presentation, I think.
Okay, then we'll go to the next presenter. We have Mr. Agus Haryadi for our next presentation with fraud and anomaly detection in electricity usage pattern using BI LSTM. So for our next presenter, you may have the floor.
Thank you. You can see my presentation already. Due to limited of presentation time, let me play the video. Welcome everyone to this presentation on fraud and anomaly detection in electricity usage pattern using DLSTM. My name is Agus Haryadi. Today, we will explore how artificial intelligence, particularly DLSTM model, is transforming the detection of electricity fraud. Introduction. Electricity theft is a major challenge for utility companies worldwide. For PLN, Indonesia primary electricity provider, these thefts contribute to non-technical loss, costing to the company billions annually. PLN West Kalimantan in 2022 have lost 51.5 billion rupiah. In the current method, use traditional method like a manual inspection have proven effective with hit at just 4.16%. This research aims to address the problem using relevant methods. Challenge and objectives. In the challenge, we have two challenges: is ineffective, inefficient, and evolving techniques. The primary objective is to enhance fraud detection using the LSTM network by analyzing consumption patterns. The model aims to improve the hit rate. The objective is how to employ the LSTM and how to enhance detection rates. Dataset overview. The electricity consumption data for over 440,000 customers from PLN West Kalimantan region. It includes a binary label for violation or non-violation, with fraudulent case account for less than 1%. We address this imbalance using class weight to ensure robust model training. For data preprocessing. In the first, we clean and normalization data with remove the blank data. So after that, we use downsampling to 3,000 data. After that, we use class weight to balance the data imbalance for binary data. 0 and 1 data is mean fraudulent and non-fraudulent data. Purpose model. Our model is a BLSTM network designed to capture both end-pass and future consumption patterns. It includes L2 regularization to prevent overfitting and drop outliers for generalization. Structures ensure the models can identify anomalies while maintaining accuracy. We use 2 layers of BLSTM to prevent overfitting and to make accuracy more. And the first layer use 32 units of BLSTM, and the second layer is 16 units with the L2 regulation. After that, we use activation with SIGMO ID activation, because SIGMO ID is for binary classification. And for the compile, we use binary cross entropy because we use binary data. For optimizer, we use Adam with learning rate, with the custom learning rate. Methodology. In the first step, we're preparing data. In the preparing data, we split data in for training and data validation. For training, we have 60% and data validation 20%. After that, we training data with 2 models because we want to compare with the best model of BLSTM, which is LSTM. After that, we evaluate training with comparing LSTM and BLSTM with accuracy, precision, recall, F1 score, and feedback with the same data but different model. For the result, we compare LSTM and BLSTM model. In the table, in the graph, LSTM have a spike in the end of graph. It's mean left for detection, but in the LSTM graph doesn't have it. For the training data, training accuracy, BLSTM have more perfectly than LSTM model. Here we see the comparison of predicted and actual result. The LSTM model accurately identifies fraudulent cases while minimizes false positive. This demonstrates is particularly applicable in real-world scenario. Comparison. We compare with 3 various studies have explored machine learning for electricity theft detection. Lee used random forest to purpose supervised machine learning for fraud detection. Investigation limited in capturing long-term dependency in time series data. Neji used SVM purpose future-based fraud detection, but struggle with the scalability and handling large dataset. But Munawar S using hybrid BGRU and BLSTM combines GRU and LSTM model for anomaly detection. This hybrid model improved more temporal pattern recognition, but need fine tuning. But they use high resolution data from advanced method. In the current work, we just use BLSTM because we just use low resolution data, which from monthly billing data to provide advanced anomaly detection with L2 regularization. Discussion. While the results are promising, challenge remain, but in confession metric or BLSTM show no false positive data, and the table shows BLSTM have a higher result than manual method or LSTM method. This method is improved fraud detection, accuracy, and hit rates, and scalable solution for large data set. And also, this is have limitation. For example, it's just only using monthly billing, and so this is have lack for granularity data. For future work, we have to use smart method to have high resolution data and more explore for hybrid model and synthetic data generation. Conclusion. In conclusion, this result highlights the potential of AI, particularly the LSTM models in revolutioning fraud detection in electricity usage. The LSTM effectively enhanced electricity fraud detection, achieved a hit rate of 6.42%, surpassing traditional method in 4.16%. So this is practically implementation in plan, show scalability and real-world applicability. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions and feedback.
Okay, thank you to Sir Agus Haryadi. So we have one question in the comment section. I will read it out. What are the key challenges in detecting electricity theft, and how can machine learning address them?
Okay, thank you for Mr. Diego for the question. In this research, the mission is spot anomalies from the history from the data learning. Before we have the method, we have to split the data from the non-valuation and valuation itself. In the valuation, we marking with the binary data with 1 and the non-valuation with 0, and the method is learning from the valuation data which have spot from the history of billing, monthly billing itself. For the learning, it's learning from the past case and detect with a new one with the non-valuation marking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Sir Agus. So we have next one, Sir Dudika Arif Hadianto.
Okay, thanks a lot for this opportunity. I want to offering some question for Mr. Agus Haryadi. A simple question actually. Your technical paper is discussed about the fraud method at PT PLN Persero, right? I want to know in the current condition, do they already have an existing method to detect fraud like your topic? And what is the difference with your method right now?
Okay, thank you for the question, Mr. Dudi. So far PLN have one, yeah, but it's still in the review stage because PLN will only start machine learning in 2024. It has only been tested in the several places like West Java. However, as far as I know, the method used a different and starting from different dataset and different method itself also a different method. And the research I carry out was also touched from the PLN, which assigned me to carry out the research in this field so that it could be used comparison for another result, another paper. Thank you, Mr. Dudi.
Okay, you're welcome. That's enough.
Here for the question and the answer. I would also like to ask the question. So, correct me if I'm wrong, has been tested with a recorded data, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any plan on testing it on a real-time data one day, or is it still working on which kind of implementation it will be used later on?
Thank you, Ms. Noor. We work in progress for the real-time data, but because we use monthly billing, it cannot be real-time like another country do. In China, they are use advanced method, but it's a real-time billing. But in Indonesia, we don't have one. We have, but it's a small data. It's not enough for the research. So we use monthly billing for all of customer have one data, but we have to collect more time, and like me, I collect 5 years of data of customer billing monthly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then maybe we will go to our next section. We have Sir Aska Hari Sartono with the title Bayesian Filtering Approach to Power System Dynamic State Estimation. So to Sir Aska, you may have the floor.
Okay. Wait a minute. Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Aska Hari Sartono, and in this video I will be presenting our research title, Bayesian Filtering Approach to Power System Dynamic State Estimation. Here's what we will cover in this presentation. There is 5 sections. First, introduction. Power system stability and real-time control are essential for reliable operation. The study evaluated three methods, AKF, UKF, and PF, to determine the most effective estimation method under varying noise and sampling condition. First, introduction, dynamics models of synchronous generators are fundamental for analyzing transient behavior and maintaining power system stability. This model supports the development of state estimation technique that enhance real-time monitoring and control, particularly in the presence of disturbance. However, conventional SCADA systems have limited sampling rates, making them insufficient for real-time application. To overcome this limitation, PMU provide improved temporal resolution, allowing for more accurate system monitoring. Various system estimation techniques such as AKF, UKF, and PF are used to estimate unobservable states in power system. However, their performance varies based on factors such as initial condition, noise characteristic, and sampling frequency. While previous studies have explored these aspects individually, a comprehensive evaluation across diverse noise condition is still lacking. This research addressed that gap by systematically analyzing noise variation and their impact on estimation accuracy, comparing the performance of three methods. Now let's discuss the estimation model. To better understand the dynamic behavior of synchronous generator, we use a nonlinear state space model. This model consists of state vectors, input vectors, state space equation, and measurement model. By using this model, we can apply Bayesian filtering methods to estimate unobservable states and enhance real-time decision-making in power system. Let's break down the key components of our estimation. First, the state vector. There is a rotor angle, rotor split variation, transient voltage in quadrature and direct axis. Next, input vector. There is a mechanical torque, excitation volts, and terminal bus. Now, let's simplify the key concept of our model without diving into complex equation. This model describes how the system evolves over time. In simple terms, think of this model as a way to track how the generator responds to inputs like torque and voltage. If the system is disturbed, we can predict how it will behave and adjust accordingly. The measurement model establishes the relationship between system outputs and state variable. Next, let's move on the estimation method used in the study. First is AKF. It starts with initialization step, where the initial system state and uncertainty are assumed to follow a Gaussian distribution. Next, the estimation is performed through recursive Bayesian update consisting of prior update, likelihood update, and posterior update. Next, we have the uncentered Kalman filter. UKF using sigma point to better approximate nonlinear transformation. Like AKF, it begins with initialization step, assuming a Gaussian distribution. Then the recursive process involves prior update, predicting system evolution using sigma point, and XG, this is sigma point. Next, likelihood update, incorporating measurements, and the last is posterior update, refining the state estimate. Finally, PF method or particle filter. Particle filters takes a different approach by using a set of random particles to approximate the system state. The method starts by sampling particles based on initial prior. Then, similar to AKF and UKF, it follows a recursive Bayesian approach. First is prior update, predicting system evolution for each particle. Next, likelihood update, assigning weights based on new measurement. And the last is posterior approximation, computing the final state estimation using weight particles. To maintain accuracy, resampling is performed when necessary to prevent degeneration. Finally, with the assigned weights, the estimation is performed using particle and their respective weights. Now, implementation detail. To model the estimation process, we use MATLAB and Simulink, dividing the simulation into three main components. First is input configuration. Define various simulation scenarios such as faults and parameter, synchronous generator, generate actual system, and measurement. And the estimator block, there is a M file, MATLAB scripts, to apply methods AKF, UKF, and PF. To evaluate the robustness of the estimation methods, we test them under 4 different scenarios. First is fault in input. Next, sampling rates. 3 is noise levels, and 4 is non-Gaussian noise. Results and conclusion. We analyze how a sudden fault in excitation voltage affects the generator response. At 1 second, the excitation voltage drops by 0.2 per unit, causing the rotor oscillate significantly as the system tries to stay in sync. The right plot illustrates the oscillation immediately after the fault, highlighting transient dynamic and the need for precise estimate. Next, let's see how sampling rate affect estimation accuracy. We test on 3 scenario: 100 Hz, 500 Hz, and 1000 Hz. The left plot shows log 10 MSA value where AKF achieved the lowest error and improved with higher sampling rates. The right plot illustrates time domain estimate. Next, let's see how the estimator performed in perfect scenario without any process or measurement noise. The left plot presents log 10 MSA value showing that all 3 methods are highly accurate in a noise-free setting. However, one method has a slightly higher error, around negative 2.27, indicating small difference in precision. The right plot shows the rotor angle estimate where our method closely matches the true state. Let's see how process noise affect estimation. We test 3 noise level. Case 1 is low, case 2 moderate, and high noise level. In the left plot, AKF and PF perform similarly at low noise with AKF having slightly lower error. Meanwhile, UKF shows higher error in this case. In this case, we see how noise affect estimation. Look at the left plot. It shows log 10 MSA for different noise level. With low noise, case 1, all methods work well, but as noise increase, case 2 and case 3 error also increase. AKF struggle the most, especially with high noise. It even fails to converge. Now, let's talk about how non-Gaussian noise affects estimation. We test 3 cases with uniform noise, ranging from the widest, highest uncertainty in case 1 to the smallest, lowest uncertainty in case 3, with a moderate case in between. This graph shows log 10 MSA value, AKF failed to converge. Now let's look at the time domain result. PF tracked the true state well and stay stable, while AKF struggle with large deviation, especially under high noise. So this is the summary. All methods capture transient dynamics, but their accuracy varies. Rotor angle and speed exhibit oscillation before stabilizing after an excitation fault. Next, effect of sampling rate. AKF perform best at high sampling rate, achieving the lowest log 10 MSA. PF is sensitive to finer time resolution. In noise-free condition, AKF and PF provide similar accuracy, while UKF shows slightly higher error. Under process and measurement noise, AKF degrades the most, while UKF and PF remain more stable. PF outperform AKF and UKF under non-Gaussian noise. This result emphasizes that estimation method should be selected based on system dynamic and noise condition. For future work, we suggest extending the method to other power systems such as wind turbines and photovoltaic system. Let's conclude my presentation. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question or would like to discuss this research further, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to Sir Aska. If anyone would like to ask a question, you may raise your hand or drop a question in the comment section. Okay, we have the first one, Ms. Nasha. You may answer.
Okay, thank you, Miss, for the opportunity. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nasha Amirah Meliani. I am a student from Sultan Syarif State Islamic University of Riau. So I want to ask Mr. Aska, the first is what are the key findings regarding the impact of noise of estimation accuracy? And then how do the different estimation methods compare in terms of convergence and robustness? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. I try to answer the question. First is what are the key findings? The study systematically evaluate the effect of different noise types. There is a process noise, measurement noise, and non-Gaussian noise effect on estimation accuracy using Monte Carlo simulation. The key findings include noise-free estimation. There is without noise. All three methods, AKF, UKF, and PF, perform well in the absence of noise with minimal estimation error. Two is process noise impact. As process noise increases, estimation accuracy degrades. AKF and UKF show better resilience at lower noise level, but their performance declines significantly at higher noise level. PF remain robust but exhibits slight degradation. The third is measurement noise impact. AKF AKF experienced the most significant performance drop when measurement noise increased, often failing to converge. UKF and PF maintain relatively stable performance, while PF showing the best robustness. For non-Gaussian noise impact, EKF failed to converge in all non-Gaussian noise scenario. UKF performs slightly better but still struggles. And the last is PF. PF is outperforms both methods, demonstrating superior adaptability to non-Gaussian disturbance. This results highlight the necessity of selecting appropriate estimation method based on noise characteristic. While AKF is effective in low noise environment, PF is more suitable for scenarios with high uncertainty and complex noise distribution. And the second question is how different estimation method compare in terms of convergence. The comparative analysis of three methods highlight their strengths and weakness in terms of convergence and robustness. First is AKF. AKF performs well under ideal or low noise condition. Two is struggles with high noise level and non-Gaussian noise. And AKF's convergence is highly dependent on initial condition and linearization assumption, and least robust among the three methods. And the two method is uncentered Kalman filter. There is have over improved accuracy compared to AKF, particularly in nonlinear scenario. UKF can handle moderate noise level better than AKF, but still degrades under extreme condition. And UKF more robust than AKF, but less than PF. And in the last method, there is a particle filter. Particle filter have robustness in exhibit superior robustness, particularly in non-Gaussian and high noise scenario. PF less sensitive to initial condition compared to AKF and UKF. PF can handle system uncertainty effectively, but is computationally expensive. And PF, the best choice for system with significant uncertainty and complex noise structure. Overall, the finding indicate the AKF is most suitable for structure low noise environments, and UKF provide a balanced approach for moderate nonlinearity and noise. And PF is the best option for highly uncertain and complex noise scenarios. The choice of an estimation method should be consider system dynamics, computation resource, and real-time application requirement. There's my answer. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for detailed information and answering. It's good enough. Okay.
Okay, thank you to Ms. Nasha and thank you also to Mr. Aska for answering the question. Is there anyone else would like to ask a question? Okay, maybe I would like to ask one question. So it seems that there's a few like conclusion there. I would like to know like what probably the most practical one that can be applied in real life and cost effectively. Oh, sorry, you are muted.
In the real life, we can check the system parameters and system requirement, and we can use empirical methods to check one by one methods like AKF, UKF, and PF to check what methods is the best for the scenario, like that.
Okay, then so it depends on the place and the scenario itself.
Yes,
Okay,
that
I
depends on
see.
the system.
Okay. Thank you then. Thank you to Mr. Aska. We will go to our next session. We have Mr. Fahul Qorib for our next one with the title Optimization Technical Telecommunication Assessment Evaluation with Large Language Models. So for Sir Fahul, you may go to the sharing session.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Wait. Wait, pick it up. Hey, sorry. Where is it? Okay, can you guys see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Fatul Qorib. Hereby, I want to present about my research title is Type Optimizing Technical Telecommunication Assessment Evaluation with Large Language Model, which aim to educational technology by offering an efficient, scalable, and accurate grading system. In this presentation, I will explain the background, methodology, result, and conclusion of my research. First of all, I would like to thank Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for this opportunity. I hope this hearing goes smoothly. Thank you for your attention. So, in content, there are four content. In the introduction, I will discuss the importance of the using automated system for essay grading by leveraging large language model, and we can enhance the accuracy and consistency of assessment. This technology not only speeds up the grading process, but also reduce human bias. Then, in the related studies and contribution, before we proceed, let's look at some previous studies in this field or research stand out by offering superior prediction accuracy compared to earlier methods. We will discuss how our approach differs and the significant contribution we make to this area. And then in the research method, I will explain the research method we use. This process involves data collection, pre-processing, and modeling using LLMs for automated assessment. We ensure that each step is meticulously carried out to achieve the most accurate result. And the experiment result, we found that the LLM4 model configuration provides the best accuracy. This result demonstrates the great potential of this technology in enhancing the quality of automated essay grading. First, in the introduction or the background, advancement in technology has significantly transformed educational process, particularly in assessment method. While multiple choice exams have widely adopted computer-based testing, automated essay grading remains underutilized due to its complexity. Manual grading is often time-consuming and subjective, leading to inconsistency. And this study explores of the use of the large language model such as OpenAI's ChatGPT and BERT to develop an automated essay grading system aimed at enhancing accuracy, scalability, and consistency. By comparing the system performance with human grading, the research highlights the potential of the LLMs to improve grading efficiency and provide equitable feedback, while also addressing core limitations like dataset diversity and scalability. In this research, we refer to two related studies that provide valuable insight for the development of our system. The first one, the Empowering Webshop Recommender System with Large Language Model Enhanced Representation. This study evaluates the ability of the ChatGPT in enhancing recommender system. The method is a combination of ChatGPT, MacBird, and Word2Vec. The results show that the BPRMF model integrating ChatGPT and Word2Vec improved performance by 550% compared to the baseline model, highlighting the benefit of incorporating relevant language representation and personalizing recommendation. The second, the toward trustworthy auto-grading of short multilingual multi-type answer. This study focused on auto-grading for short and multiple choice answer using BERT and LabC. This study explained that BERT understands the context of the word in sentence bidirectionally, while LabC is able to understand the meaning of sentence across language. The evaluation results show that BERT has a precision of 0.87 and recall of 0.81, with almost equivalent accuracy. These two studies provide a solid foundation for our research, especially in the application of large language model for automatic assessment. The main contribution of this research is to present an AI-based auto-grading system that can reduce lecture workload, improve grading consistency, and provide faster results. In addition, this result shows how LLM can be adapted for technical tests in telecommunication, which has rarely been a focus in AI application before. Next, in the research method, there are four Hugging Face transformer. And then the pre-processing, there are a missing value I filled with the script, followed by the data cleaning and formatting for the consistency. And then the various data split were tested, and the 70% for data training and 30% testing was chosen. And then the modeling, there are 4 LLMs model, BERT, Roberta, GPT-2, fine-tuning to enhance the performance. But the GPT-4 is not fine-tuning, adding several layers in the fine-tuning to optimize result and avoid overfitting. Next one for the evaluation, R square for the variance explanation and the mean square error for the performance consistency and normalized mean square error for measure consistency. Okay, in the analysis result, experiment result, in the analysis of the auto-grading system involving 4 models, BERT, Roberta, GPT-2, and the GPT-4. The result saw that the GPT-4 has the best performance in terms of the mean square error, and GPT-4 recorded the lowest value of 4.58, followed by the GPT-2 of 4.71, which indicates the ability of this model to minimize error. For a normalized mean square error, GPT-4 also excelled with the lowest value, 0.5, signifying better efficiency in a prediction compared to BERT, 0.56, and Roberta, 0.67. In addition, in terms of the R square score, GPT-4 recorded the highest value, 0.72, that indicating its better ability to explain data variability compared to the other models. Overall, these results confirm that GPT-4 is the most efficient model for auto-grading system. Overall, this result indicate that the GPT-4 is the most optimal model for the design auto-grading system, both in the term of accuracy, reliability, and the prediction efficiency. This superior performance can be attributed to the GPT-4's ability to understand complex pattern in the dataset and manage inconsistency, making it the best choice to address the challenge in machine learning-based automated training. So, thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you, Sir Fakhrul. Is there anyone would like to ask a question? You may drop the question in the comment section or raise your hand. Okay, maybe I would like to ask a question. So how does GPT-4 compare to human grading? Since like there will be probably courses that will be subjective and more complex, right, compared to GPT. Would it be like, is it better for human grading or GPT-4, or this will be better for?
Okay. So the compare for the manual grading for the GPT-4 and the manual grading, I think the GPT-4 is better for the evaluation with the name human grading. That with that we know the OpenAI ChatGPT-4 is the latest update that has been training with a lot of the corpus, which means it can be more smarter than the human grading, because the human grading is still, yeah, we know there's a lecture that inconsistency with the grading, and then it's a lot of time consuming, and then inconsistent and time consuming. But if we use the GPT-4 for the auto grading assessment, it will be less time consuming and, yeah, like human grading, but it's more consistency. That's all.
Thank you for the answer. Is there anyone else would like to ask any question? Okay, then I guess if anyone else would like to ask the question, you can directly ask Mr. Fakul. We'll go to our next session, which is with Sir Dudik Arif Handianto with the title Financial Feasibility Study of New Electricity Installation with Line Expansion Based on Machine Learning. So to Mr. Dudik, you may have the floor.
Well, thank you, the committee, due to the limited condition and also current situation. May I ask permission to show the video recording that I've prepared before?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Is it already clear to show on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Today I will be talking about the financial feasibility study of new electricity installation with land expansion based on machine learning. And this topic is very important because this study is based on one of the largest companies, PLN. My presentation will cover the following key points: introduction, related work, methodology, and result and discussion. First of all, is introduction. That PT PLN Persero is Indonesia's state-owned company that responsible for generating, transmitting, and distributing electricity throughout the country. PLN also has co-responsibility to operate across the entire energy value chain, including retail sales of electricity. My topic will be talking more about in electricity sales. The study takes a case study from PLN UP3 Samarinda, which is one of the service units under PLN East and North region, located in the capital city of East Kalimantan province. PLN UP3 Samarinda also manages electrical energy transaction in its customer, one of which is the sale of electrical energy, both without expansion and with expansion. The demand for electrical power in the community as well as industry and business in PLN UP3 Samarinda today tends to continue to increase rapidly, some of which are evidenced by the economic growth of East Kalimantan in the third quarter of 2023. Within the scope of PLN East and North Kalimantan, PLN UP3 Samarinda contribute the largest sales, indicated by the realization of electricity sales in 2023 of 1 gigawatt hours, or contribute 14% and grew by 11.32% compared to the realization in 2022. This needs to be supported by a much more effective process of calculating the cost of new installation itself and the pre-construction stage in order to keep up with the rapid growth in sales. The flow and process of financial feasibility of new electricity installation with land expansion can be classified into two major stages: pre-construction stage and the construction stage. The pre-construction stage starts from the customer request, field survey, compiling the technical drawing, calculating the feasibility study process, up to MOU between PLN and the customer. As for construction stage, it starts when the customer make a payment, the issuance of a detailed contract, and the implementation of land construction work until the rejuvenation in the system as a PLN customer. The calculation of financial feasibility referred into the pre-construction stage consists of calculating the cost of connection and investment costs to produce the parameters such as NPV, IRR, and payback period, which are recommendations for the feasibility of a project. And then the related work, there is some previous research that discuss some of the content of this topic, and we have reviewed approximately 500 until 700 articles related to the current topic. But first, the financial feasibility analysis of telecommunication network development project in Nusa Penida tourism area Bali. The topic discussed the technical financial calculating of the NPV, IRR, and payback period parameter, which is still limited to financial calculating using manual formulas and has not use machine learning as a method. And then the second, advance in financial market prediction using machine learning technique. The research still does not specifically discuss the financial feasibility study parameters such as NPV, IRR, and payback period to analyze a project. And the third, feasibility study of machine learning model implementation on card transaction. The research is still not discussing the financial parameter aspect. The study used machine learning approach with supervised learning type to define object. Supervised learning consists of two important subfields, namely regression and classification. Classification models are used to categorize objects into some specific label class, while the regression models are used to analyze the prediction of continuous output result based on variable or data attribute. The supervised learning applied in the study is to perform regression modeling, first by comparing 5 models, namely linear regression, ridge, lasso, elastic net, and random forest, followed by a classification modeling that will calculate financial parameter, NPV, IRR, and payback period. And then the methodology, some of the methodology states that must include data set, and then pre-processing data and feature extraction, feature engineering, data modeling, and result. There are at least 70,000 data from 300 seats in the form of a list of material, service, and transportation from KHS contract for construction and maintenance service of PLN UP3 Samarinda, and also data on cost and connection rate in each customer segment. We said that PLN investment budget sharing data is also needed. Data labeling is the foundation of supervised learning, as it provides the correct output that the model needs to learn. The labeling of the data set was done manually, we can see on the right side, and validated throughout local structure official by adding the length of the line, kilometer circuit, and meter circuit within the project. And then result and the discussion. The visualization budget estimate plan Excel file from the contract for construction and maintenance service. The picture below shows a heat map with color representing the size of the total recap value in rupiahs, for each file on budget estimate plan. Darker colors will represent higher value in rupiahs, and lighter colors represent lower values in rupiahs also, according to the various color map. In the feature extraction, we have creating unique sheet, which contain unique sheets category, extract the features from existing data, that namely total, number of sheet, and then access sheet. It can be seen in the figure on the left that there is very skewed distribution of the total feature in rupiahs. Most of the data is concentrated in the range of 0 rupiahs to 300 million rupiahs, but there is one extreme with a value 1 billion rupiahs. The presence of the outlier can cause the problem if directly used in modeling. But the outlier data was already removed. After removal, just can be seen in the figure on the right. The visible standardization used is standard scalar, which will adjust the data to F distribution with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. The data is ready to be used for modeling. We also use the k-fold cross-validation technique, which was used to evaluate model performance more accurately. In this method, the data is divided into the k-part folds, and each part is used as a test set, while the rest is used as a trend set. Both actual and predicted values follow a similar overall trend, but there is a visible gap between them, indicating that the model's predictions are somewhat close, but consistently under predicting the actual values for most input. From the table on the right side, we can show the comparison of the regression model, ridge, elastic net, lasso, linear regression, and random forest. That show that random forest is the best model for making prediction, as shown by the its test R-square, MAPE, and SMPE result. And it also shows the MAPE value is 85.461. It has the lowest SMAPE, 49.923, which means it has more symmetric percentage errors. Ridge and lasso shows the poorest performance with negative R-square on both CV and test set, and high error metric with a small positive R-square, 0.176 for ridge, and 0.55 for lasso, indicating it explains a little variant in the test data, but still not performing well. And then after obtaining the best model from the result of the performance metric comparison, the next step is to create the web-based application localhost as a prototype, using the Streamlit library that allows enter project financial data and physical asset, as well as several other libraries such as NumPy Financial, SNPF for financial calculation. These two figures show the localhost interface to input the parameter to the asset to be built based on distance. For example, 5 kilometer power requirement and power requirement is 0.35 MVA. Material and other accessories. So the figures 9 show the view to predicting fixed asset based on the random forest model and calculate various financial metrics such as NPV, IRR, and payback period to help analyze the feasibility of the project through the cumulative cash flow graph display. And in the conclusion, the result of modeling and comparing regression, getting the most optimal model using several supervised machine learning models, including ElasticNet, Rich Lasso regression, random forest, and linear regression. And based on test R, MAPE, and SMAPE value, the random forest is performing better than the other model in terms of predictive power. The next result obtained from the study is a web-based system prototype localhost for NPV, IRR, and payback financial feasibility to display cumulative cash flow, graph an annual flow table in according to the initial objective. For the direction of the future research, it is necessary to develop financial assessment calculation with other machine learning models in order to produce better model than the current model, and also consider in terms of new electricity installation of network expansion that requires special construction investment. And then this is the several reference that we cited. And then
Yes, that's all my presentation, and maybe we can next to the Q&A, maybe the committee.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we start with the comment section first, since it's the first one.
Okay.
So both your background problem formulation and the result is the financial feasibility study really the main issue in the new installation process with the network expansion?
Okay, I'll try to answer. Maybe I can explain it. Yes, of course, that based on some reference, experience, and interview with management at PT PLN Persero, particularly in PLN P3 Samarinda, the administrative process is quite time-consuming, and particularly in the calculation of financial studies with the effectiveness of optimal financial study calculation with machine learning and test data set. It is hoped that it can make accurate regression in decision making at least potential customer to get an initial idea of the investment cost they will spend. This research actually was conducted to be able to support the new installation process with the expansion of the line at the pre-construction stage, especially at the financial stage, that can give the management the decision that this project is feasible or not feasible conclusion like that. It's enough.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Maybe Mr. Diego can also say in the comment section if it's enough or not. Maybe we go first to Mr. Agus Haryadi for the next question.
Thank you. I see 5 models you're comparing in the results. Do you directly determine which model you want to use, and do you try to implement some of them and find the least error?
Okay, I want the direct answer. Then actually, I immediately try to apply the 5 models that are familiar in the world of machine learning directly, as we knew from my presentation in this screen. The random forest is the best model for making prediction, as shown. Its test R-square, MAP, and SMP result. R-square on the test is 0.376, and it also shows the MAPE 85.461. It has the lowest SMAPA. The value is 49.923, and which means it has more symmetric percentage errors. If we compare with the other model, Rich and Lasso show the poorest performance with negative R-square on both CV and test set, and high error matrix with a small positive R-square for Rich, R-square for Lasso, indicating it explains a little variance in the test data, but it's still not performing well like that. And then the answer for the Streamlit, we use the Streamlit as some reference. We refer to the part of journal R.A. Asman Ahmed Khan with the title Customer Segmentation Using Machine Learning Technique in 2023, and book with the title Python for Finance, Mastering Data-Driven Finance 2019 by Help 6. Like that. The Streamlit actually allows to enter project financial data and physical asset, as well as several other libraries such as NumPy Financial, SNPF for financial calculation, and it can be used for the parameter in the topic that I will present it. There is the net present value, payback period, and then the internal rate of return. And I have already implement that with the prototype in the Streamlit and Joblib that get from the dataset model, and then the random forest result. I will show the evidence or maybe the result. Now, this picture, it shows that we can input some parameter. For example, the asset need to build based on distance 5 kilometer and power requirement 0.34 MVA. And in entering some material and other accessories, then next figure show the predict the result about the fixed asset based on the random forest model and calculate the various financial metrics. So the management can practically make the final decision that this project is feasible or not feasible, like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the answer and the question. I would also like to ask one question. So what are the main challenges when you were applying the machine learning for this project?
Okay, the main challenge is actually the data set. The most data set is not much. I get the data set from the 2021 and until 2024. That's maybe only 1,000, and then I to execute that I use the primary dataset and then secondary dataset to use to duplicate the dataset to perform the model as well as like that. The main challenging is the dataset actually because to get the legal or official data in the PLN is so hard, and we have to letter and bureaucracy and then step until top management like that.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So
Yes.
I see that everyone has already finished their presentation. I would like to thank everyone for coming to this session. And before we end this session, I would like to invite everyone to turn on their camera and take a picture for this, to commemorate this session. So can everyone turn on their camera for a few minutes, a few seconds?
Slide 1, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, slide 2, 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dafa. I would like once again, thank you to everyone who presented today's session. It was really insightful and I learned a lot of new things here. And I also would like to thank everyone who asked a question and get our discussion in here in this session. And thank you once again, and I hope everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you. You may leave the room if you want. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nur.
Thank you, Ms. Noor.